It is 6 o'clock and we'll begin this public meeting. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Does anybody have an interest to declare? I have no hands up. Number 3, which is the purpose of the meeting. 3.1 D14 2024-0095 357 Highway 2. And this is a non-statutory public meeting and regarding a zoning bylaw amendment D14 2024. I just need to read the preamble. So personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning, or in this case, the Deputy Director who's with us tonight. The purpose of the public meetings is to present applications in a public forum. Following presentations by the applicant or staff, council members will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions for clarification or further information. The meeting will then be open to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to myself, the chair of the meeting. The applicant will be provided the opportunity to address public questions once all members of the public have made their submissions. Following council's decision, which will be at a later date and not on tonight's meeting, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. If a specified person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the specified person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the specified person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Madam Planner, if you'd like to speak with us.
Thank you. And through you, I'll just bring up the key plan. So as noted, this is a non-statutory public meeting for an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the property municipally known as 357 County Road 2. The subject property is located on the south side of County Road 2 and is east of the town of Gananoque. The property has frontage on Days Road as well, which is a township road, and the property is approximately 1.49 hectares. This meeting is non-statutory as the application has not yet been deemed complete under the Planning Act, pending the completion of key technical review milestones, including peer reviews of some of the supporting studies, the approval of the proposed municipal water and sanitary servicing by the town of Gananoque. And as the proposed access is within the influence area of Highway 401, sign off by the Ministry of Transportation with respect to the application and the supporting traffic impact study is required. This meeting is for information purposes only, to inform the public of the application and to receive public input. No recommendations are being made this evening. So on the screen now is the proposed site plan for the development. The proposal consists of the development of the front portion of the property with a gasoline retail facility with an accessory retail store along with a restaurant and drive-through. Access to the property is proposed via right-in, right-out on County Road 2, and full access entrance is proposed for Days Road. The property is currently zoned tourist commercial in Township Zoning Bylaw number 07-079. And I'll note that within the tourist commercial zoning of the property, all of the proposed uses are currently permitted, that being the gas station, the retail store, and the restaurant. The application is requesting a special exception tourist commercial zone that incorporates zoning relief from the maximum width of an entrance, permitting the proposed outdoor commercial patio associated with the restaurant to be located in a yard adjacent to a residentially zoned property, and to permit signage for the gas station to be located closer than 7.5 meters to the County Road 2 street line. The owner has submitted a concurrent application for site plan control for the proposed development of this property. All supporting information is available to interested members of the public on the township website. Notice of this public meeting, non-statutory, included a mailed notice to all owners of property located within 120 meters of the subject lands and signage posted at the subject property. To date, staff are in receipt of a number of pieces of public correspondence noting concerns with the application. And all public comments received to date have been posted to eScribe. The noted concerns include those with respect to traffic impacts, the methodology of the traffic impact study, the suitability of the property for the proposed development, impacts to Days Road, the proposed approach to stormwater management, and potential impacts to residential properties that are accessed via Days Road. The agent for the application and the owner's planning consultant are in attendance virtually this evening and are available to address questions and comments with respect to the application. And following the application being deemed complete under the Planning Act, there will be a statutory public meeting for this application. It'll be scheduled for a future date, and notice for the meeting will be completed in accordance with the Planning Act. And if there are members of the public in attendance this evening that would like to add their contact information for our mailing list for future meetings involving this application, there's a sign-in up sheet just outside of the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. I'll take questions from council members. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. A couple of questions came to light. This particular property used to have the Carriage House restaurant, hotel, motel on it, and it did have a substantial traffic load at that point. But I do believe that this particular use may increase that drastically. And I do know that there were back then even some accidents at that intersection, particularly when traffic is coming east. It's kind of blind coming out of the gateway of Tamagananakwi, and the increased speed sometimes impedes thoughts of the vision of traffic coming out of this type of facility and going up the parkway. So it would be difficult to have a management plan that comprehensively makes it a safe transverse from a property that potentially has as much use. One other question that I had is the gas distributor, and this is some local history also, that Tamagananakwi at one time in its heyday had 20 gas stations. So having another one isn't really that bad, other than the distributorship nowadays has changed quite a bit from back then, to the point that we have 4 gas stations in Gananoque, and one of them had to change its brand because what it was one of the other suppliers. So 3 of the current gas stations are supplied by the same supply chain, and one is separate. So that would be another question, is who's supplying the gas and how that is going to be affected in the future. The food chain, as I've heard word of mouth, is A&W, which again is another quick food chain, which may or may not need in the town, but still, it's a different food chain, so it's good that way. The other thing is that part of the reason that the Carriage House is no longer there is that they did have some issues with some of the footings of the actual buildings themselves, and that some of the units were starting to sink into the ground. So I hope that if there's any construction on this site, that some of that is dealt with, because it is a softer portion of the land, since I do know some of the land around that area. And as we have seen in the past, it is a little less than suitable in the swampy areas around here. So thank you.
Great. I don't believe there was a question specifically there, just your comments. Okay. Further comments, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Much like Councillor Maybe's comments, some of us, such as Councillor Maybe and myself, have been there before the Carriage House was put up. So there is a little bit of pleasure, if you will, of having watched time go on. My biggest concern, if this is going to be a gas station, are the tanks going to be below ground or above ground? Because as Councillor maybe alluded to, I can remember that being cattails right there before the carriage house was ever put in there. The carriage house was brought in. It would never happen today. The carriage house at the time, that was landfill site. They brought in copious amounts of fill and backfilled that swampy area. It wasn't big, but nonetheless, it was still a low-lying area. Most low-lying areas, as wife and I have the pleasure of living across from a large one, they're also the aquifer. And if we're going to be entertaining putting fuel tanks in an aquifer, then we have some serious questions need to be asked. I'm not going to make any prejudgment on what all is going to take place here, but if we're entertaining fuel, I want to see above ground storage. Thank you.
So your question was about whether it's above ground or below ground. And I believe, was it not spoken to in that report or no? That they were supposed to be in the below ground in the report that was circulated. So your comment is that you wouldn't want to see it without above ground. I just wanted to be clear. Go ahead, Councillor Cumlin.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Along the lines of the traffic, the only question I had, I noted that the traffic impact study was done in December. And knowing, as we all do, that Gananoque, the population and the traffic greatly increases in this time of year, in the summer months. I just question whether the traffic impact study is really accurate being done in the winter as it was. So I could see there being a question about that. And one other thing I noted in the planning justification report on page 19 in the bottom section, it says the proposed development is consistent and compatible with the surrounding commercial uses. And one of those uses listed is Walmart, but there is no Walmart in Gananoque. So that's
Just wanted to be clear.
something that needed to be noted, that it's not that big of a use going on in that area.
Fair enough. Councillor Rowell, did you have your hand up? Okay. Councillor Jameson? Okay. I will take questions from the gallery if anybody would like to come to the podium and make any comments. If you haven't had an opportunity to submit them to the planning department, we would be willing to entertain those comments now. Everybody is being very quiet. So do you have to come up to the podium if you'd like to make a comment? Please state your name and your address. Oh, Lindsay, can you make?
Oh,
There we go.
yeah, my name is Helen Leduc. I'm at 19 Island View Lane, Gananoque. I'm just wondering why the town of Gananoque approved this initially.
There,
And why does Gananoque have to prove it?
Ms. Lambert.
No, the plan.
So this is a township
Well,
property.
according to Alan Bickerton's response, he mentioned that the town of Gananoque had already approved the planning application. I just wondered how come they had to approve it.
I think he might have been referring to a different planning application that was approved inside the town. Because originally, I believe this establishment was supposed to be located further inside the town in a different application than this.
So none of the property that's involved in this plan is inside the town. It's all in the township. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I'm Linda Grant at 118 Days Road. I have just a couple comments. One is in that area all around where this proposes is protected land and forestries. There was nothing in the report about that. So, you're putting a gas station in really close to protected lands that are right on the outside of this property. I have a huge concern on that with runoffs, and you can't tell me accidents don't happen with gas. The other thing, and I agree with the councillors about the traffic that coming out of there right now, as all of us know, we sit there for in the summertime 5, maybe 10 minutes trying to get out. and the view isn't that good because of the gates, but also the people coming in off the 401, they come in off there pretty fast, zip around. And also I've tried to make left-hand turns into my road off the 401, and people go around me, and there's people on the side of the road walking to the casino. It is a very dangerous intersection there right now, never mind having gazillion people. So the question is that with the study and all this wetland it's wetland, it's protected land around there, and we need to keep it. Thank you.
Any further comments? Please come forward.
My name is Larry McCauley. I'm at 174 Days Road. I want to echo, I guess, the submissions that we as a group of residents have already put in, and I hope you've looked at them, the feedback. Traffic is a major, major concern. What they're showing here for turning radiuses with a tanker truck, we have trouble getting two cars, one turning left and one going out there as it is. This also forces anyone wanting to go back into town, out to the 401, out to the Parkway, east or west in the 401, forces them to come out on Days Road, either to make a left or a right. They can do a right on the forced right away that the MTO is showing. But if you come out of that drive-through, want to go back into town, you've got the residents on Days Road coming into that corner. You've got people trying to make a right or a left into Days Road, and you're going to have the A&W drive-through exiting there. A good portion of those that want to again go 401 East, 401 West, or on the Parkway. It's crazy. The turning radiuses, if you look at these, impinge on the intersection significantly. And they don't even show a proper swing out on the King Street when they're taking the right out of there. So traffic is a major, major issue. The December 5th for a study, when their underpinning comments are around tourism, hotels, motels, is a joke. It's basically garbage in, garbage out. You can't rely on that study. It's that simple. And what they did was they drove everything out of that. Basically one observation that day in peak hours, 7 in the morning to 8. Okay. And at 4 till whatever, even normal days, I think our peak volume is driven by the manufacturing groups and people going into town and out of town, not the tourists at 7 o'clock in the morning. Most of them haven't had a coffee at the hotel yet. So that's one thing. The aquifer issues are obviously a key issue. I just think there's been inappropriate due diligence done on this, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at the comments they made themselves in filling out the application, no one knew the history of that site. Come on. I mean, they've written that down themselves. Site has, it's got existing asphalt. Well, who cares? That's got nothing to do with this history. That they basically say, even the owner, okay, says the current owner of the property is not aware of the previous use of the site. Why would he buy it without due diligence? It makes no sense to me anyway. So those are some of the comments. Put it bluntly, garbage in and garbage out. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the gallery? Please come forward.
Kate McLean, 795 King Street, East Gananoque. And so my family did own the forest that's now to the town. So huge concern on the environmental impact of this, but also wondering too, how is it going to be serviced? Like, would it be serviced through the Gananoque water system and sewage system? And if yes, then the town would have to approve it as well?
Madam Planner, if you'd like to answer that.
Certainly through you, yes, it's proposed that the water and sanitary servicing for the development would be through the municipal services of the town of Gananoque. So they have been made apprised of the application and their approval would be required.
And has that approval been given already, or they're still waiting for the next meeting?
Then it would be the next step.
Okay, and then I guess a further question too is the Cataraqui Conservation Authority, they have a say in this as well?
Madam Planner?
Through you, yes, they were circulated on the application. I've provided some initial comments that are available on the township website, noting that a permit under the regulation would not be required. And they've indicated some stormwater management comments that they've requested the applicant to address through a subsequent submission.
And then that would have to go through you as a council.
Correct.
Thank you.
So just for clarity, the application for water and sewer through the town is something that if it was proposed that way, then the town has the right to take them on or not take them on, but adding users to their particular system never work. It always works in their benefit to have more users to spread the cost. So, but they could have concerns and turn that down. So it would be up to Town of Gananoque to do that. Before we take comments from the planner and answering any of the questions, I have my own similar concerns that have already been discussed here tonight. I live at 32 Dark Island Lane, very heavily used that intersection. I have teenagers that live with me and use that intersection to the point that was made about turning radiuses. People constantly go around you if you're turning left into Days Road. It's a huge safety concern, and I'm struggling to see the path that was the comment was made as far as having tanker trucks pull in and out of Days Road and how they would get in and out of that particular site is I've dealt with tractors and hay wagons and all sorts of things all my life, and I can't see how that works. But the most important thing, I think that my concern is the aquifer as well, which has already been identified. If you look at the property that is directly to the east of the subject property, there are a very healthy batch of cattails that is in a ditch between the two properties. And there's a water course directly to the south of the deemed property, and cattle are raised there, and there's a number of homes. So I think that there's a lot of questions that need to be further explored, and traffic being a main one for safety purposes, but the water issue, the potential of contamination is of great concern. So I will go to the planners at this point in time who are online joining us. If you'd like to raise your hand to speak. There's no hands up. Okay. Oh, Joshua, we're just gonna let you talk here. So if you would like to unmute yourself, there we go.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant the city planners for that one.
No.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Joshua from Blueprint to Build. We're the engineer on file. Thank you very much for all the comments. We read through everything, and we definitely understand all the concerns here, especially around the traffic. You know, we've done a lot of sites, work with a lot of developers. Traffic is always the biggest issue. And even for our owners' sake, we don't want to have a dangerous intersection. We want to look out for all the local community, any kids, any commuters, tourists, it doesn't matter. We want to make sure that's always safe roads and safe path of travel throughout the site, internal and external. So that concern is definitely noted, and we do want to work with any locals, the municipality, and the MTO to make sure that we do have the safest means of entrance and exiting from the site. Now going on to the concerns about the forest at the back, any conservation land. To be completely honest, we were not completely aware of the of that forest in the back. Sorry, the name McLean Forest. we weren't aware of it. So now we are aware of it. We're going to work with the Conservation Authority and make sure that we are in full compliance with any requirements that they set for us. And then, I'm sorry, some of the concerns are escaping me right now. If anybody wants to ask any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything. Yeah.
Do any of the council members have any further comments or questions for the planner? Go ahead, Mr. Mimi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, one of the things that popped in my mind is that there are 4 homes within a very close proximity. They're actually on well water, and they have their own septic bed. They aren't hooked to the town of Gananoque in any fashion. So any leak of gasoline into the ground there would then interfere with all the wells in that area and could go quite a bit downstream.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments or questions for the planner? Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Stuart LaFirst. I'm at 11 Days Road, so I'm directly beside where the applicant's looking to build there. So I just have some questions for the applicant.
Sure.
Like, are you willing to deal with the consequences that are at hand? So I have an artesian well there that now it overflows pretty well year round. So the water table is very high. So if there was contamination, how would you deal with that? If there is like issues with water because the water table is so high, like you're going to dig there in a very wet area, like it's a known wet area. So where is that water going to go when you put all the concrete, all the asphalt there, potentially in my basement? So are you willing to deal with that as it happens, or do you have a plan forward, or do you care?
Yeah, no, we definitely care. And usually when we go about a situation like this, there will be a dewatering plan brought forth from the contractor. So we are aware that any underground structures, the underground tanks, which will need deadman straps because of the high water table, these are all measures we take into account. And of course, any I guess anything that comes from the construction or anything that might affect anybody local, we will definitely be open to conversation and try to compensate for that. So we don't want you to feel like we're not thinking of you at all. We definitely want to work with you, and even during construction, if you have concerns, if there's any issues, please feel free to approach us, and we'll definitely work with you for that.
Okay, thank you. I just the errors that are in the application, like there's many errors. I hope moving forward it's more thought out. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Are there any other further questions for the applicants, planners? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. To the planner here, do you have you done any soil core samples on this property?
Not yet. We've hired Cambium to do both noise studies and geotech reports. So they should be going on site, we would expect, in the next 2 weeks to start doing the boreholes.
And how thorough would these core samples be? And would they be covering all the property, just where the building would be?
Yeah, they would be covering the whole property, but only at the increments that the Cambium, so the geotech specialists, determine. When it comes to the actual building where foundations and underground structures will be placed, there'll be less of a variable between the borehole locations.
Okay, thank you.
And just for clarity, the Cambium that's doing the core samples, are you using the office out of Kingston? Or am I thinking of a different contractor?
They have a few locations. I'm not sure which office they're going off of.
Okay.
We do a lot of work in the GTA, so we're familiar with that one, but they might shoot it off to a closer location.
Okay, thank you. So there's another hand online, Greg Terrace. If you'd like to speak, we are unmuting you right now. Allow to talk. Sorry, there we go. You should be able to speak now. Our apologies. Oh, you've muted yourself.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
Sorry, I am working with Joshua on this, and I think he's addressed all the comments. I was just available if there were any other comments that he wasn't able to address.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have any other hands up. Oh, I've got one more. So if you'd like to come back to the podium, please.
Yeah, I'm Belinda Grant again, 118 Days Road. You didn't answer the comment about the concerns with the tanks going underneath, which Brian maybe brought up, and Terry told that the tanks were concerned about that. And what about the above ground tanks? Like there was no comments from the planners there about these tanks.
Mr. Terrace?
Yeah, if I could allow Mr. Frakes to address that, because they're the engineering consultant on this. As he indicated, they would be proposing underground tanks, but perhaps Joshua could elaborate on that further.
Okay, so Joshua, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there's no above ground tanks being proposed. We haven't really brought up propane decisions yet with the owner. I don't think we're going that route, but everything is going to be underground for now.
So there are a number of examples of gas stations in Eastern Ontario who have tanks above the ground. Is that up for consideration?
As of current, it is not like a path we plan to go down, but of course, working with the other governing authorities, we're open to changes.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Please come forward, Mr. McCauley. And then we'll have to wrap this up. We do have a council meeting to move on to.
Larry McCauley at 174 Days Road again. I'm not sure if I'm asking the right person the question, but given all the concerns around traffic in this whole process, what's the interface and process where the MTO gets fully engaged and are aware of what the heck's going on, since they are a major stakeholder in this thing and traffic is a major concern? So I don't understand yet where the MTO comes into play and who has the final say in the traffic issues.
Madam Planner, can you speak to when the MTO becomes involved in this?
Sure, through you. So the notice of non-statutory public meeting was circulated to the Ministry of Transportation, and they do have a new portal to submit requests for comments. And so staff have uploaded all the supporting documents and requested comments formally through their portal. Comments have not been received back, but certainly sign off of the traffic impact study is required before township planning staff are comfortable in deeming the application complete and moving forward with a statutory public meeting. Separate from the planning approvals, a permit will be required from the Ministry of Transportation for the proposed development. And through our preliminary review, township staff have identified concerns with respect to the development from a traffic perspective and the impacts on the township road. With that, we're interested in perhaps pursuing a peer review of the traffic impact study to ensure that the township's interests are addressed as well as the concerns that we've received from the public to date.
Mr. McCauley, does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. Oh, Councillor Jameson, go ahead.
Well, it's come up really that notwithstanding this application, the 2 is not our road. The county road. There's a county road we're dealing with, the MTO we're dealing with. Yes, there are our roads affected, but at the end of the day, I would be suggesting that Gananoque and the township try to get together with the MTO, if such a thing is possible, and the county to discuss that general traffic malaise in there. It's very difficult. I'm you know, I'm just a casual user. I do business in Gan and then I come out this way. And it's a dog's breakfast through that area in terms of the lines. We earlier on discussed what we felt was the need for an extra light coming off the 401, and that sort of fell on deaf ears. So if we're going to pursue any kind of development in that stretch, I think we better have a pretty good idea about how the various road owners are going to manage the traffic as it already is, which doesn't appear to be very strong. And we should all be working together to try and make that a safer area. And putting this application aside until such time as that's resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fode will have the last comment.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. When I was looking at this a couple of nights ago at home, and we've had emails, thankfully, excuse me, from a number of you here present tonight. I don't see an actual requirement to use Days Road at all. This property has its own entranceway. You could cycle traffic through there, around the drive-through, back out the same way they propose that tractor trailer is going to go. For what it's worth, I'm in the transportation industry. Those tag-along trailers are like kids' wagons. They will basically follow each other's tracks. That's why fuel companies go to that type of trailer as opposed to one long one. Anyway, that's an aside. But in my take on this, I don't think Days Road needs to be involved here at all. This, if the planners are looking for approval on this, I think you've got two major hurdles. Shut the Days Road off. You can come in that way if you wish and access it, but it shouldn't be allowed to go out. You're just going to complicate everything, which has been covered by a number of people here tonight. But I think that I'm going to stay silent until we see the answer on this core sample. I think it's going to bring up a lot of bad news. I really do. I think that you can't hide the fact that you're on an aquifer. I don't care if you put 4 inches of pavement on top of soggy ground. If there's still an aquifer underneath there. And I think a core sample is going to reveal all of that. Thank you.
Madam Planner, would you like to answer
Yes,
that?
through you. So it's staff's understanding that through pre-consultation on this application, the Ministry of Transportation indicated that they would not support a full access via County Road 2. And so as a
that
result,
access cut off.
it's a right-in, right-on only through the proposal as a result of those comments.
So I think that there's a lot of work to be done before anything is deemed complete to come forward for a statutory meeting. But we do appreciate the public coming forward and voicing their comments this early on in the application process so that they can be considered going forward. And with that, there's somebody. Oh, I'm sorry, Josh, you wanted to speak? I apologize. I didn't see your hand up.
No worries. I understand you guys have another meeting after this. No, I just wanted to thank everybody for the concerns. I know everybody has a whole bunch of bad stories about dealing with developers, but we are here to listen, and all your concerns are heard. We do want to talk with you about all of them. We want to work with you. So I think there is a lot of contact information that is found online throughout this application. Please feel free to voice any concerns, and we will do our best to address them.
Thank you. With that, I'll put the motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the public meeting adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? We're carried, and we'll just take a 5-minute recess before we go back online.